We are here in the legendary Weather Center at WGN with
Legendary,
a man
huh?
who is just as legendary, if not more legendary, Tom Skilling.
Michael, how are you?
I'm
Nice to
great.
see you.
You
here.
as
Welcome.
well.
You know, it is such a pleasure to work with somebody who exudes such enthusiasm toward what they do. Congratulations, and I hear you have quite a move coming up here.
Yes, our new show is in Chicago,
Yeah.
and it's a great, exciting time.
Wonderful.
And to have you on the program is just a thrill beyond words.
I'm flattered to be here, and much success to you.
Thank
this
you.
Is great to have you in our weather office.
And speaking of success, I want to begin by congratulating you. I understand Monday marks your 34th year.
Oh, my word, is that
WGN.
right? You know something, you've done your research. I guess that's right, isn't it? You know, I've been doing this for 45 years, and I've been lucky enough to do it since 1978 here. So I'll take 34 years. Huh?
34 years.
That's it.
If I did my math correctly.
Yeah, you did. I think you did. I'm telling you, so isn't that funny? I work with numbers all day long, and the arithmetic, I mess up so often. I have my producer yelling, "No, you got the wrong number figured out there." But let me tell you something. It's been 34 incredible years here, and it's been superimposed over a period of extraordinary development in our profession. I mean, we've come farther in the last 50 years in meteorology than in all the time back to Aristotle, who wrote his treatise back around 350 BC that started the whole profession. It's just been amazing to see what's gone on just in the time I've been here at WGN.
And it's also amazing to see what's gone on just this year in terms of meteorology. Has this been one of the hottest summers you've ever covered?
Absolutely, bar none. By any measure, we have more 90-degree days going than we have ever had, and we have 142 years of official weather records here. It's the hottest temperature ever. That's even with this little downturn. It's amazing. Yesterday, NOAA, the parent agency of the National Weather Service, pointed out that July was the hottest month in the United States since records began in 1895. Bar none. It beat out 1936, one of the Dust Bowl years, as being the hottest. So this is extraordinary. The last 12 months, not just in Chicago, but on a national basis, have been the warmest 12 months in all of the term of weather records around here. That's for the whole lower 48 United States, the 48
remarkable.
contiguous states.
My goodness.
So we're witnessing history here, and we, of course, came off that unusual winter.
Yeah.
You know, we had the fewest number of snow-covered days in the winter, the fewest number of days with an inch or more of snow on the ground of any since back in 1934. So
the winter was very bizarre, which brings me full circle. Given the summer we've had, is it possible to assess what kind of winter Chicago's going to have?
Everybody worries about it. They think, well, we've had a hot summer. That must mean winter's going to make up for it in its severity. You know what? That statistic, that relationship doesn't exist, we found. And I was surprised by that, too. I have a colleague, Rich Koneman, who spent 10 years of his own life committing every ounce of weather data on the Chicago database to a computer, and we run all kinds of analyses every single day. He lives on a mountaintop in North Carolina, and the flurry of emails back and forth with questions just like that is amazing. What we found is we've identified warm summers, and 6 to 7 of 10 of those the winters that follow wind up being warmer than normal themselves. So in other words, about 2/3 of the winters after a hot summer wind up being above normal. We also have an El Niño developing, which is a warm-up of the equatorial Pacific. And we found this has massive global climate implications seasons ahead. And among one of the things El Niño does is it produces warm winters, also winters with less snow. Now, it's no guarantee because some El Niños are different than others, but as a general proposition, El Niño winters tend to be warmer and less snowy than their counterparts. Now, put up against last winter, which was warm and snowless in a manner that we've never seen before. It's going to be hard for any winter to top that in its warmth. But the early read is that this may be a less severe than usual winter.
Nobody knows better than you that Chicagoans take their weather forecasts very, very seriously.
Yes, they do.
Would you say Chicago is sort of a weather-obsessed kind of town?
Well, think about the environment in which we live. I remember, a lot of movies about weather people out of Hollywood and all always paint these buffoons as characters and all. Nicolas Cage, when he did The Weatherman, came out here and he specifically said, he apologized to me and said, I'm making light of a weatherman. Of course, it really didn't have much to do with him being a weatherman. It was more a look at his life. It was a great movie. It was fun watching them do that. But he said, we don't take the weather out here doesn't change in California, whereas in the Midwest it does. And Chicago has an amazing range of weather that can literally threaten our lives at times. So it would be natural for us to make a little more of the weather around here than many other parts of the country do. The United States as a whole is probably, as a region, one of the most active meteorologically in the world. Europeans often are surprised at the attention we pay to the weather here.
Yeah.
Well, their weather is a little more stable. They have their storms, and heaven knows maybe they'll start thinking about it more because they had a heat wave in 2003 that killed 50,000 people, and they've had their own share of extreme weather. But our weather probably dictates this and leads to this level of interest in the weather in its volatility around here.
When we posted on Facebook that you were coming on our show, my wall just filled up with all sorts of excitement. Tom Skilling's going to be on the show. And somebody posted, I'm not joking, if Tom Skilling ever leaves Chicago, it'll be the zombie apocalypse. Just that everything is going to go wrong.
I think the world will go on, and Chicago will do just fine without Tom Skilling around, but that's nice to hear.
You're such a loved man. What makes you and the city of Chicago click so well?
I think what people don't quite understand the level of passion I have toward the weather. It's probably the same sort of thing that causes people to pause at a traffic wreck and look it over. As they go by, they don't want to, but they think, "Gosh, this looks like something I ought to take in." I think over the years people have tuned in, and some people who are not as interested in the weather as I am probably think, "Geez, I don't understand everything he's telling me, but he sure seems to be getting a kick out of it. So what the heck? Let's go along for the ride and see where this goes." But seriously, I think I've always accepted the fact that my viewers are intelligent. This is not brain surgery. The atmosphere seems so chaotic and the weather seems so chaotic. The fact is, there's great organization to the way nature puts our weather together, and it's kind of interesting. I've always found it interesting to watch a storm come together, or a heat wave, or a cold spell, and it's fun to be able to talk to an audience and say, "Hey, look what looks like it's about ready to happen." That blizzard, and that's another thing. The technology is so much better today. We can visualize things. We can show people what's happening. We share with them output from the same models we look at that simulate the way the atmosphere is going to, evolve. And so a week ahead of time, we talked about the February blizzard. We talked about the March record warm spell with all the 80s and even some 90s put together. We were able to identify these things a week ahead of time. Do you know that we've had $15 billion U.S. weather disasters in the last year and a half? That has never happened to this country before. Think about the Tuscaloosa tornado, the Joplin tornado, the floods on the Mississippi River, all the extremes. The crop loss in this drought this year will dwarf any natural disaster that's ever occurred in this country. Our farmers have been leveled an incredible blow.
Corn at all-time highs. It's affected commodities.
Absolutely. And wait till you see the prices we pay for food. Our meat prices are going to take off. It doesn't happen right away, but this all ripples through our economy. So this is really, this whole subject of weather is something that reaches into every aspect of our life. It affects the way we feel. It affects our psychology. It affects, if we work outside, our ability to do our work. It affects the food that we grow, and therefore the fuel prices. You name it. It reaches into our lives in ways that many people don't even think about.
Yeah.
So
I've got a 2.5-year-old daughter at home.
Yeah.
And she's at that age now where, thunder, lightning, she gets very scared.
Right.
And I understand, parents sometimes struggle with teaching their kids how to not be afraid of storms.
Right.
What do you tell parents in that situation?
Look,
I'm lost.
I tell them I'm afraid of storms. And they're not abnormal to feel that way. It can get into a phobia stage where, you've got to seek some professional help if you really are worried. I remember a mother brought a little girl into me. She looked like something out of a concentration camp. She looked physically ill, the little girl did. And she was so worried about storms. And I found out in talking to her mother that her mother was too, so this was communicated to her mother. But I think from the mother to the daughter. But there's nothing wrong with having a healthy respect for storms or being fearful of lightning. Lightning can kill you. Why shouldn't you be a little bit respectful of it? But on the other hand, it's part of the natural process. Lightning creates a pound of nitrogen-based fertilizer that falls in the rain over every acre that a thunderstorm passes. So it does some amazing things. And I think the only thing I'd suggest is just explaining to a young person that there are reasons these things happen in nature, and we should look at it that way. It's not all bad, but and watch your daughter. I know you do, and if you're concerned about it, then seek some help. But there's nothing wrong. It's completely human to be a little fearful of what we see going on, particularly when it makes a lot of noise and it blows against the house, the winds do, and all the rest. I think she'd be, a little bit more worrisome if she wasn't a little bit concerned about it.
Yeah, we all have our phobias in our house.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm afraid of bad 80s sitcom reruns. That's my...
That'll do it.
I'm in therapy for that right now.
I see. Well, you seem to be doing well.
I am. I'm doing
that's
that,
good. Congratulations.
Thank you. I want to ask you before we go, you've done a number of award-winning documentaries and reports on WGN regarding a number of weather-related items.
Yes.
Anything you're working on for the future or something you want to explore?
Yeah, we went down to Florida last year to the Hurricane Lab. There's been great concern on the coastlines of this country, in which a slight majority of our population lives near the coastline, about our inability to forecast rapid changes in hurricane intensity. So we're doing something on that. There's a real effort underway to understand how everything from Saharan dust blowing off the Sahara Desert in Africa and coming across the Atlantic to the United States affects the strengthening of a hurricane, or how the structure of the ocean over which the hurricane passes affects it. So we went down there last year. We talked to the director of the Hurricane Center, the forecasters down there, and we thought we'd do a piece on that. I'm doing a keynote talk at the National Weather Association up in Madison, Wisconsin in October. I haven't decided what I'm going to talk about there. We're doing a meet and greet at the Museum of Broadcast Communication coming up here in a couple weeks. So we'll talk weather. And we have our annual Fermilab programs, and I'm already in planning stages for that for next April. Yeah.
I was there about 5 years ago.
Is that right?
Yes. I learned so much about tornadoes.
Oh, my gosh.
My head is still spinning.
I'll tell you.
That was a good joke.
That was good.
I'll stop. Yeah. It's a wonderful seminar you put on down there. It's wonderful.
It's been amazing. We have done some fun things. We went up to the site of the biggest tsunami ever recorded in world history. This thing was 1,700 feet tall, and it occurred as a mountain collapsed in an earthquake into an Alaskan bay, and it set up a 1,700-foot tsunami. Imagine a wave like that's taller than the Hancock or any of the buildings downtown. Imagine a wave like that coming at you. But we did it on the anniversary of the tsunami that hit in the Indian Ocean area, and that was fun. So we've done some really cool stuff. And we'll do more, too.
That's great. Well, we will be watching for you every day on WGN.
Thank you, Michael.
I think I speak for all of Chicago when I say you are Chicago's treasure.
Oh, gosh, I don't know about that, but I'll tell you something. This city has been so good to me and its people, and it's a real honor to have a chance to do the weather in an area like this. This is weather, Broadway for weathermen around here. What one of my colleagues, John Coleman, used to say, and he's absolutely right. So anyway, Michael, thank you
Tom
for coming in to WGN.
So much.
Come back and see us again.
We will.
And much success on your show.
Thank you.
Moving here to Chicago.
Thank you. We're excited. Great to have you with us.
Great to be here.
Tom
Thank
Skilling,
you for the
ladies and
invitation.
gentlemen.
Thank you, folks.
We'll be back. Stay with us.